welcome. This is Tarron Cairo of Twisted Mesquite Performance Horses. We are on a mission to create a world-class 2-year-old program that specializes in the reining cow horse. Today we are doing a video with Cairo. We are going to go over the 4 steps we've used to advance his training. This is going to be his 8th week in our program. So y'all stay tuned. At the end of the video, we're gonna work on a special exercise that I didn't plan on doing until yesterday. So we will get to that at the end of the video. We'll get going and get this horse warmed up, get him ready to go, and then we'll get started on our first exercise. So the first exercise we're going to work on is yield and bend. So last week we started working on this exercise, and we progressed, made progress, and I determined we needed to work on this exercise a bit more this week, and then also our second exercise we needed to add to it and continue working to progress this horse, to advance this horse. So this first exercise, as I said, is yield and bend. And so this exercise, I want this horse to yield that hindquarters 360 degrees, and then once he does, I want to take this horse back into this bend at the walk and have him come around in a nice circle, be soft in my hands, be responsive and respectful. I want to be able to do this exercise at the walk, trot, canter, and on both sides. So last week when we were working on this exercise, for some reason he was getting bound up mostly on this left side, and so we've been working on getting that freed up, getting this left side freed up, breaking it back down, this exercise back down to the specific parts, which is being able to flex on either side without their feet moving, being able to yield that hindquarters from a standstill, and then be able to take this horse into that yield from a walk. So, just like what we are right here, we're just walking around, and then we yield that hindquarters, and then we added this bend to that. And so I want this horse to be able to walk out here and just be free in this bend. I also worked on making sure that this horse would bend around my leg well, reminded him of that, and just making sure he keeps his feet moving forward. So anyway, we kind of did some troubleshooting to work on this exercise last week and this week as well. And so, like I said, I want to be able to do it at a walk. I want to be able to do it at a trot. And so, working on this exercise today, in order to advance him, I want to make sure that I can go and do this at all 3 gaits, that he keeps this hind end freed up, moving around, and then he comes out into this bend, follows his nose, and comes around in a nice circle just like that. So as I said, I want to be able to do this at all 3 gaits, and so I'm going to do this a few more times. So to improve it at the lope here, I want him to come back down to me. Once I grab that rein, I want him to come back down to me a little quicker. He was kind of leaking out of it. What I mean by that, he wasn't thinking about stopping. It took him a little while, a few strides, to think about stopping when I picked those reins up and went to disengage his hindquarters. He started stopping quicker, but he braced up a lot through his body right there, and so we'll just work with him, progress it, and it just takes a few times. I like that departure a lot better. He got up into that lope a lot quicker. And so if we're having trouble, so say an exercise isn't going very well on this right side, I want to stay on this right side till I make some improvement, and then we can move to the other side. And so we're going to continue working on this right side until we get this a little better, and then we'll move to our left side over here. See, I want this to be a lot more fluid. I like the end of it right here, where he's getting soft, he's moving his hindquarters, and he's bending around this walk. And so a lot of it is just getting him thinking about rating back down when I pick this rein up. And so I might remind him, go back down to this trot. See, he kind of grabs his face a little bit and is fighting my hand a little bit when I grab that rein at the first right there. And so it tells me there's some resistance. He's continuing to think about just moving forward rather than rating back and coming back to me. And so we'll just work on this a few more times. See, that time was better. When I grabbed that rein, he had already started moving that hindquarters and coming back down, rating himself back down. This is a very smart horse. You know, we're doing a lot of work with him. You know, we're teaching him quite a bit. And so once you do a good job of teaching a horse, every step you teach him something, you know, you want to make sure he understands, and you add to it, and then, you know, you progress that horse, and then you can, you know, if you get a spot to where he gets kind of bound up or confused, you can always go backwards, remind him, and then make progress. if we weren't filming, I would just kind of do this exercise just wherever, just all over this arena. But he right there, he really fought my hand there. So I got after him with my leg a little bit just to get his feet moving, because what that is, it's just that stiffness through his body. Just fighting you with that resistance. And so, you know, we want their feet to move, want to get their feet loosened up and to get them soft in our hands. And that is the opposite of a horse being resistant to you. I like how he's coming around this circle. He's doing really good here at the back end of this exercise. So I just want to get that actual initial start of this exercise a little better. I want him thinking about rating down. See, that was better there. He started rating down himself. And he did better there. So we'll take that. We'll start working on this left side. See, at this moment, I don't mind that yield is a little slower, because we did have some trouble with him actually just yielding that hindquarters. And so he is actually yielding it now and moving that hindquarters when I ask him to. And so we'll kind of add some more urgency to him here in a little while, but added a little bit of urgency right there because that was just a little bit too slow. And it's just a feel thing. I mean, you ride these horses and you work on the exercises and you work on being consistent. You work on doing a good job, and you know, in that process you'll continue to get better and have more feel and timing with what you're working on, so that you're able to advance your own skills, and then you're able to produce a better horse. Just the more times you do it, the more consistent you are, the more reps you have. Okay, so I like how he advanced today through those exercises, or through that exercise. I want, you know, going forward, I would want to improve just when I go to take my feet off of him and I go to grab this rein and yield those hindquarters, that it's a little bit more fluid, like it is at the walk. I would want that to be the case at the trot and the canter, in order to improve that exercise there. But overall, he's doing well with it, and those different parts that we're working on, and so yielding the hindquarters, bending, transitioning down, you know, we'll continue working on those things, those different parts, as we advance through other exercises. So exercise 2 is our post and circle exercise, which here in the arena we don't have something to circle around, but ideally you have some trees or something like that where this would really work good. You know, I did this exercise, a version of this exercise early on when I had this real sorry broke paint horse that I ended up getting bought. The guy that had him got real mad at this horse one day, and I said, you know, since you're really mad at this horse, why don't I just have this horse? Why don't I just take this horse off your hands? And he was so mad at this horse that he took me up on it. So he gave me that horse. I'd say this. He ended up being really mad at that horse, so I offered him a low number. I ended up giving him back to him. That's why I was thinking it was a free horse. I ended up offering him $300 for this horse, because this horse unloaded out of the trailer and run off. Like, he didn't just, he opened the gate and this horse just run out of the trailer. And so I offered him $300 for this horse, and he took me up on it. I was like, all right, you know, I got this nice little paint horse. You know, kind of decent build, like a blue roan paint horse. And anyway, so this horse was pretty sorry broke. He would run off. When you go to get on him, you know, he would just continue to build speed. You'd get on him, he'd try to walk off with you. And so I was trying to fix some of this stuff. And one of the things, so you had this real bad problem of running off. You'd go out to a trot, or you'd go out to a walk, and this horse would just continue to build speed. He wouldn't stay in the same gait that you asked him to be in. He would just continue to build speed. And so one day I just rode him, and I did a version of this exercise. So I would just at a lope, we just rode through the canyons. We rolled over here, rode over here. We circled around this tree. We circled around that tree over there. I mean, we just kept going until that horse decided on his own to come back down to a trot. And so it ended up, I mean, it took a few sessions before that horse would finally, on a loose rein, just stay at the gait that I asked him to be in. But it worked. And so that was a version of this exercise here. And this exercise does a really good job of causing, you know, kind of the same result, to where this horse isn't in a big rush to get over to the other side of this arena, because once we get over to the other side of this arena, he's going to have to work some more. And so it kind of adds on the theme, you know, our diagonal exercise, where we just spent time loping this horse and loping him over to this corner and then that corner and this corner. And it builds the theme of, well, you know, we want this horse to start rating back on his own and start thinking about reserving energy and staying in a gait that we put him in. And so this just builds on that same principle. And so as soon as my wife gets over here to move the camera, okay, so this exercise here is pretty simple. For the sake of the camera and for our video, we're gonna go just from fence line to fence line. And so we did this exercise here. We're gonna do it at the lope. So I lope over here to this fence line. When I get here, if he leans one direction or the other, I'm going to go the opposite of the direction that he leaned, and I'm going to take him into a trot. And so at first, when we taught him this exercise, he was leaning all over the place. He didn't want to come up here close to the fence. He was, when we get to the outside of the circle, he'd lean with that shoulder, and he wasn't following his nose very well at all. And so we have been progressing him, working on our shoulder control a little bit. So, I want him bending around my inside leg, and I want him staying off of my outside leg. And then at the same time, I want him following his nose around this circle. This is going to help our horses get more broke. We're doing anything. We're doing cow work. We're doing a rein and turn. We're working in small circles, in small quarters. We're sorting. Anything like that, we need this horse to be able to follow his nose, keep his body pretty squared. And what do I mean by that? I mean that this horse is up underneath himself. His hip is driving up underneath him, and his shoulders are staying pretty square underneath me as we go around this circle. And it takes some time to teach a young horse how to do this, but it's fundamental for what we're going to need to teach these young cow horses later on. So to advance this exercise for today, I want to be cognizant of getting to the end to getting this fence line, and I want to go right into that circle as soon as I get there. And so I want him to get there, go straight up to the fence line, and go right into the circle. So secondly, I'm feeling it more on this side. So he's more on this right side. He's throwing his head up around. He doesn't want to really bend around my inside leg all that much. He's kind of wobbling around a little bit, throwing that hip out. And so we're going to spend some time today on this right circle quite a bit to get this a little better. Already made some improvement right here. I like his departure. He departed right out and did a good job there. A lot of these circles, I want to ride this horse quite a bit and do this exercise quite a bit. I like my young horses. I found out that earlier in the year, I didn't do this exercise a whole lot, and I figured out that some of my horses weren't really following their nose through their turn in their circles. Their bodies were kind of all over the place, and so it's just, the more consistent we can do our job, the better result we can produce. But it takes time, understanding what the principles of the thing are that you're wanting to get better in, and then how can I do those things as consistent as possible. Alex Ramosi calls it the input-output equation. He said, so once I understand what the input is for the result that I want, then it's just a matter of how many times can I do that input in order to produce the result that I'm looking to produce. Because we can't control the outcome. However, we can control the input, and so if we have an understanding of what the input is, so it's the action we do in order to increase our chances of success in the thing we're trying to have success in, then we can just do that thing as much as humanly possible in order to better our chances of having the desired outcome. And so he's not following his nose very well there, not getting off my outside leg. We'll just work right here for a little bit. So again, I want him following his nose. I want him soft to the inside. So soft to my leg right here, soft to my hands. And I want him getting off of the outside leg pressure to where he doesn't just, he's taking the guidance of my outside leg and guiding around this circle rather than just dropping that shoulder and running off over here and dropping that shoulder and just not staying in the circle at all. So he's kind of stiff through his body. You can tell by his hip is kind of wanting to just get thrown out over here. His shoulders are doing the same thing, wanting to just run out to the outside. And it might be a small thing, maybe can't notice it in the video, but you can feel it. And some horses are just stiffer on one side than the other, and so we just have to work on helping them. No different than, if you're right-handed or left-handed, you need to work on, in my opinion, work on bettering that to where you're as good as you can be with either hand on either side of your body. So for me, I'm predominantly right-handed, and so I spend time thinking about how can I do better with my left hand so that I can do a more consistent job with these horses. I notice that generally my horses are better on the right side, and so that's my job is to get better on this left side so that my horses are as naturally even as possible. So that was a lot better there. So to improve this exercise here, I would spend some more time on this right side, making sure that he's following his nose through this circle. He's bending to my outside, but more so, or to my inside leg. He's soft to it, taking that direction, and then staying off of my outside leg and following his body around this circle. So exercise number 3, I want to work on vertical flexion in the circle. We're going to start at the walk and then do it some more at the trot as well. I think that this exercise has helped both of the prior exercises, and I notice that some of my older horses, older horse I have, she needs a lot of this. She needs a lot of this exercise here, to where she'll follow her nose around this circle. She'll be soft through her body, and she'll vertically flex around here. And all of this here, because right here, this shape right here is how I want to be on a cow. I want to be driving up here. I want to have some some vertical flexion here so that this horse, it can load up and he can drive up into his face. And I want to have some bend right here so this horse is looking at this cow. And so, this is, and then at the same time, this same position right here, this same position is what we would use for our turnaround. And so I want this horse to learn how to walk around this circle, vertically collect, follow his nose, and stay between my feet. And so just like we were here on the fence line, we're doing that same circle, we're wanting the same thing, we're just adding some vertical flexion to the mix. So when I lift up, I squeeze my legs, so I'm squeezing him forward, squeezing him into his face. And I want him to like I said, to follow his nose through here. Good. And so when I was teaching this exercise, he did pretty well. It was certainly, and it was kind of a pattern through all three of these circling exercises, to where he didn't really, he was struggling with staying between my legs, so getting soft on the inside and staying off of my outside leg. And he was struggling following his nose around here. And so we've just progressed that, making sure that we have that understanding through all three of these exercises, that we're wanting to improve that circle. And so that understanding has improved all three exercises. And so he's gotten better for sure. And so to advance this exercise today, I just want to practice it. I want to make sure that he's staying between my legs. He's doing good. If he starts veering off one direction or the other, I want to put that leg on him. Wait till he gets off of it. Release that pressure a little bit. So once we teach this horse how to, this is the foundation of a lot of things. And so, you teach this horse, once you teach this horse how to move his shoulders, how to disengage or to move those shoulders over, we'll be able to work on our turnaround right here. This will be what we need on our horse after we've we need this right here, this exercise right here, in order to teach our horse how to back a circle, because we'll start him out of that circle. We'll start him back in a circle out of this position right here. So this side, similar to working on the fence, he's a little more unsure about it. He's kind of wandering around a little bit, kind of a little stiffer through his body. And so we will just get this better going through here. Be cognizant of it. See, I have my circle on my ground here. We're kind of following the same tracks and working on keeping them there. You could have a barrel, you could have a bucket, you could have a tree, you could do something like that, to where you're sitting here, having that as a waypoint, and you could sit there and circle it and see how good your circle is. Or just using the ground as at the moment. Good. So to improve that exercise right there, I like that. I stopped and he started thinking about backing up. I like that a lot. So to improve that exercise right there, I would continue to spend some time on that right side, and I would then do it at a trot as well, go in either direction and work on it at the trot. We'll do a lot of that. I want them being comfortable in that circle for, for our herd work, for our rein work. I want them to be able to, because a lot of times you'll be at that trot when you're working cattle, and so having them comfortable, being soft in your hands, have them comfortable bending around in this direction, and then you can add that stop, that backup, and that turnaround to that pretty well and pretty easy. So anyway, I'd want to make sure that he was comfortable out the trot, going both directions, and work on that. So exercise number 4 is yielding his hindquarters on the fence line. And so as we talked about prior, this exercise is the beginning of teaching this horse how to yield his rib cage or side pass down this fence line. And so I will go down this fence line and show you coming back this other way. So I want to be close to this fence line when we're coming down. I want to just slightly take his head into the fence. Ideally, he yields that hindquarters. He keeps his front end pretty still, and he brings that hindquarters around him to where we're facing straight right here on the fence line. I'll let him rest a second, and then we'll go back to it. And so I'm going to take him closer to the fence line because he just wanted to bring his front end through, and then barely take him there, and then put my foot back to where he yields that hindquarters. Because I need him to yield that hindquarters. That gets us moving this direction, and then from here, which would be us working on this next week, at that point we will blend the two, and then I'll ask for a side pass. So I'll then put my foot on the inside of his rib cage and have him step over. And so we want to be able to do this on both sides. Once we can do this, this is the first step, and then from there, he's already going to do that really well to where he will get off your leg and side pass. And so, but we just want to make sure this is good, and then we'll be able to repeat that, yield that hindquarters, and then side pass, and then we can slowly wean out this yielding the hindquarters, and just once he understands, then we can ask him to side pass up and down this fence line, and then that progresses to side passing in the middle of the arena anywhere. So all of these things, they work together, and they get this horse more broke, get this horse understanding different principles of getting this, of moving his hindquarters, moving his rib cage, moving his front end, getting soft, being able to flex his head and neck, have control there. So to improve this exercise, I would just make sure that he was anticipating it right there. He started doing it himself. I like that. So to improve this exercise, I would want him to just step up here, to yield that hindquarter smoothly, and then stay perfectly straight. He was still right there even. He wanted to kind of tip his head either direction. So more like that right there. That was really good. So we will, to me, that's a pretty good spot to quit that exercise. We will get this horse over into the halter. We're going to show you, just like we talked about in the first video, we're going to show you an additional exercise that we want to work on with this horse, and we'll bring that to you here in a second. As we talked about, we were going to do a special exercise at the end of this video. The owner called me and we talked, and he said, man, could you know, one of the next things he's wanting to do is be able to swing a rope off his horse, and as he gets his horse a little further along, maybe gets his horse riding around a little better one-handed, he wants to be able to drag some calves on this horse. And so I said, man, you know, you'd be able to do it just like this. And I told him how he could go through the process. And today I was thinking about, you know, we could just start work on that process. We have him for another week at least, and so I can just get started exposing him to this rope and just taking him through the process. And so this horse hasn't had a rope swung around him at all so far that I know of, not since he's been with us. And you know, we've done a lot of desensitizing. We've done, you know, we've thrown a rope at him quite a bit, and so we've got the stick and string, swung it all around him. And so what I'm gonna do is just start desensitizing him with this rope in the same manner that I would do. You know, I would take the lead rope, desensitize him. I would, you know, stick and string, just touch him, you know, just make noise with this all over his body, rub it all around. You know, I want to do it on both sides. You know, I want to be able to swing this around. I want to be able to swing this around on the ground before I take it and ride him with it. I want to make sure that he's pretty good and comfortable with this rope swinging around him. I can swing it over his head. I can swing it behind him. And so, you know, there shouldn't be no big deal to him once he understands that I'm just wanting him to stand here. You know, I should be able to just swing this rope all around, swing it around close to his head. You know, he did good with that. He didn't move his feet. And so I'll come over here. You know, if he, you know, I have this lead rope pretty loose in my left hand, or just hanging draped over my arm really. If he were to go and move, I would just reach around and grab it. Maybe could keep it a little tighter. You know, for sure, because we have done so much groundwork with him and so much desensitizing, I'm not worried about him jumping and kicking or doing something silly like that. So that was good. You know, can I just walk around him and swing this rope? He did good there. And so basically just repeating, you know, so he moved his feet right there, and so I'll just stay right here. And there he stayed. And I might, when I stepped up there, he moved his feet. I'll come back and do it again. Make sure he sits still. So that was good. This side be a little more difficult. Because I am right-handed. But you don't want to be able to do the same thing. Be able to swing this rope on this side of him. On him, be able to hear this noise. Be able to just come up here to him. And so the desensitizing will be a little bit different on this side, like I said, because I am right-handed. If I could swing my rope this left hand, that would be ideal. But in the list of skills I need to advance, I don't think that that's a big priority. So we'll just do the best we can with it. But we can for sure, once I get on him, swing this rope on either side. I can come over here, swing this rope over top of him. And so we did this a lot with our stick and string. And so it's prepared him for this. You see, he's just quiet, he's calm, he's relaxed. He's got his leg cocked, there he is, he's licking his lips. It's no big deal to him. And so, to me, that was a pretty good first step on getting this horse ready to swing a rope. What I'm going to do from here to advance this is, next time I ride him, I'll do the same thing on the ground, swing this rope all around. I will carry the rope with me while I ride and do the rest of my exercises, and then at the end of the ride, then I'll take this rope out and I'll start swinging it around, and start gently, start quietly, and then speed up how fast I swing that rope all around him, swing him both sides, swing that rope around his, over his head, behind his hip, on either side of his body. Just getting him good and comfortable with that, getting him comfortable with hearing this rope slide through my hands, up and back through my hands, and we'll just advance him from there. Then I can start throwing the rope on the ground, getting him used to that, and then as we get better control of him, and then as I would get this horse riding around better one-handed, then you can start steering that horse around, have him start handling the rope when it's just laying there on the ground, where you can move that horse around and be able to handle your rope while you're sitting horseback. So that's our surprise exercise that we didn't decide we were going to do until this morning or yesterday. So that's how I'd expose him to a rope, or any colt, is expose him to this rope just the same way, just the same manner, and just build on it. So that'll be our video for Cairo for this week. Overall, he did really well. He's a really nice horse, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.